This video will show you how to get db-migrate running on your Node.js project. So the first thing you want to do is you want to sudo npm install -g db-migrate, and then you want to install the migrate MySQL driver tool for that. The next thing you want to do is you want to create the following directories. You want to create a config directory and a migrations directory. So right here within my API project, I have a database, a utility type directory called _database, which has my config directory and migrations. So in your config directory, you want to create the following, at least 3 JSON files. So this JSON file represents the development database, and this JSON file will represent our test database where we test our migration scripts from development. And this is our actual production database. So again, here's our current dev database, our test migration database in the dev environment, and this is our real production database. So once we get that set up, we want to create our first migration. So to do that, we execute this command, db-migrate create, and this is the name of the migration. So the first one I usually like to call just seed. The next one I would create like a semantic version scheme, so major.minor.patch 0.0.1, something like that. So the first one I usually just create seed, but you can make this anything you want, 0.0.1, maybe that's better, -config, and then we point it to our dev database. And then once you run this will create the following. It will create this file with the seed, and the seed, your version name, and this is where you would add your SQL statements. So, and this is our up version. So we're adding a table, we're creating a proc, and we're inserting some data in the table. And the down version is we're dropping the table, dropping the proc. And this is a bunch of stuff that we don't even need to look at. So the next thing, once we have our SQL statements up, we run it. So we run the migration in our test database in dev. And so I'll execute that right here. So once we do that, so if we go to our car API, this is our test, here is our source database, and this is our test migration database. And if I refresh this, yeah, there we go. So we see we get our car table, our migrations table that db-migrate uses, and our stored proc. And if we call select from car, we select our migrate database, select everything from car. If we execute that, we get our row. If we go to our dev database, execute that, so that's the same. And if we do an up migration, we should test the down migration just to make sure that works. So we go down, and we see we've dropped that. So now if we refresh this, we'll see that the table and the procs are gone, and we're just left with this migration table. So let's go back. We'll run it again. So we'll go up, refresh, and then there are our tables. So once we know this is working properly in our test migration database, then we can just change this to prod, and it should run. And that's it. It's actually pretty simple.